Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the live Q&A with me, Professor Michael Scott. It is the 1st of April. It is indeed April Fool's Day, and many of you have been writing in to ask whether or not there is any connection between April Fool's Day and the ancient world. Well, some people think that we might be able to make a connection between April Fool's Day all the way back to the Romans and to a particular festival that they celebrated at the end of March time, which was the Hilaria, the hilarious festival, or the cheerful people festival, which was in honour of the god Cybele. Right. And here, this was where people got dressed up in all sorts of funny clothing and went around in the streets taking a bit of mockery of kind of even civic magistrates and other serious people like that. But I'm not quite sure that we can go that far back, and it may have a more prosaic thing, a starting point in the 16th century when there was a crossover between the Julian and Gregorian calendars, and as a result dates had to restart, and the people who didn't get the message in time were thought of as April Fools because they weren't with the picture of the updates. It's like kind of us all before the era of iPhones updating us for daylight saving time, summertime, etc., and some of us forgetting to put our clocks forward, as I might have done last Sunday. So I hope you are all very, very well. Hello, everyone. Hello, Rebecca. Hello, Linda. Thank you so much indeed for tuning in. It is April Fool's Day. We are here with a live Q&A, a special live Q&A on a Wednesday at 2 o'clock because of the joys of the COVID-19 world in which we are all self-isolating and social distancing and staying at home a lot more in order to protect ourselves, to protect the NHS in the UK and other health services around the world, and ultimately to help save lives. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much indeed for joining in. I hope that things are well and safe with you guys all around the world, and that they continue to be so. Lorraine's asking about the clock behind me. Yes, this is my new clock. I got up on the wall at home behind me. Absolutely love it. It's exactly very, very big. It is also in reverse for you guys. I completely understand that. So it looks like it might be 10 a.m. in the morning rather than 2 p.m. But at least it has some Roman numerals. So it's keeping in with the theme of our podcast. Hello, Jonathan. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in. What's not keeping in with the theme of our podcast is the fact that I'm doing this live Q&A while seated at a table which has, I don't know if you can quite see this, but a frozen tablecloth on it. You can just see Olaf appearing there in the corner because it was my 4-year-old daughter's birthday over the weekend, and we are still kind of getting the place back in shape after her online Zoom conferencing birthday parties that she had with her other 4-year-old friends around the world and the country. Good afternoon, Costas. How are you doing? Good afternoon, people. Hello from York. Thank you so much indeed for tuning in. I'm glad everyone seems to be well. Hope you're all keeping busy. Hope you're all keeping mentally well and feeling happy as well during these difficult times. Remember to keep getting that exercise, whether it's with Joe Wicks or anyone else, and keep getting outside for that one outside walk a day to getting some fresh air. Linda, happy birthday to the mini prof. Thank you, Linda. It is also, in fact, coming up my birthday on this Friday, the 3rd of April. So I need to be thinking how I'm going to be celebrating that in the joyous times of COVID-19 and social distancing and self-isolating. Maybe we should all have an online Facebook and Zoom party as well. Bertrand, bonjour. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. So we've talked about April Fool's Day. Might not really, I think, have a link, sadly, back to the ancient Romans, but we have had plenty of fantastic questions in from you. And before I go any further, I need to also remember Amethyst from Australia. Thank you so much for tuning in really the middle of the night for you guys. Okay, Rebecca's been watching Frozen 2 pretty much every day from the last week. 3-year-old son kind of like it too. Yeah, it's kind of catchy. Frozen 2 is kind of catchy. Hello, Glees. Hello, Fiona. Thank you so much. I should have an online toga party for my birthday. I think this is an interesting idea. An online toga party. Everyone get your togas, grab your chosen drink, and maybe we can all get online together. This is sounding weirder and weirder with every moment that passes. Right, okay, we must remember that this week is a prize week. So what we do is we look back over the past month or so of the Q&As and of the great questions that you've sent in and those that I've been able to answer with you while live, and we put them all together and we look for the best question, and the best question wins a prize. So absolutely fantastic. I've been looking back at some of the fabulous questions we've had over the past couple of Q&As, but for me, the winner is an outstanding one, is Stefan Sverretsen, who asked about, as many of us are stuck at home during these times, particularly during the COVID-19 times, it's important to keep calm and try to stick to the usual routine. What was the typical routine of the average ancient Greek and Roman citizen? That we had an answer of last week. So Stefan, thank you so very, very much indeed for your fantastic question. You win a prize, a book of mine, Ancient Worlds. Please do get in touch via the Facebook page to let us know where to send that to and what dedication you would like within it. And keep sending your fabulous questions in, which we will now get going with. So Ian Irkus asked, who is the modern Greek people's greatest hero from their past? That's a really interesting question. So for the modern Greeks, who is their greatest hero from the past? And I think for the modern Greeks, and if there are Greeks and Greek people or expat Greeks listening out there at the moment, please do kind of say who you think is you the Greek nation and the Greek diaspora would consider as their greatest hero. But I suspect that it comes from either sort of 2 or 3 main periods, either very, very modern history, particularly thinking about the First and Second World Wars, or thinking about the 19th century with particularly the Greek War of Independence in the 1820s from the Ottoman Empire, or thinking back to very much the ancient Greek world. And there, of course, we might be thinking, you hear regularly people referring to and thinking about Pericles, Socrates, Leonidas, King Leonidas, the Spartans, Themistocles, the great Athenian general as well as the philosophers Aristotle and Plato. So those in would be my answer. But if there are some Greeks out there listening at the moment, Pericles suggests Anna. Alexander the Great says so, absolutely as well. He needs to be on the list, absolutely, absolutely. And you're quite right. And I think when they ran several years ago the Greatest Greek competition on modern Greek television, like we had the Greatest Britain of all time competition on television several years ago, and I can't remember, was it Shakespeare who won it here in the UK? But in Greece, if I remember rightly, it was Alexander the Great. So Sarah's 10 marks. Kostis, you'd say Manolis Glezos, who took down the Nazi flag from the Acropolis in May 1941. He died yesterday. Rest in peace, Manolis. Thank you very much indeed for mentioning that, Kostis. That's absolutely fantastic to be able to think about that moment and the fabulous, fabulous moment that was when the Acropolis was freed once again. The Acropolis, obviously, that symbol throughout all of Greece's past of freedom and liberty. I'm thinking back to this year. Obviously, we are also celebrating, according to the Greek government, the 2500th anniversary of the Battle of Salamis, which was the great victory in which the Athenians and other Greeks turned the tide against the Persians, the invading Persians. And of course, just before that, the Battle of Salamis, the Persians had invaded Athens itself, and the Athenians had decided to evacuate the city and leave the city, and just a few priestesses and treasurers hidden behind some wooden walls on the Acropolis in the ancient temples then on the Acropolis. And of course the Persians had invaded, they'd broken into the Acropolis itself, people had taken refuge in the temple but had been brought out and slaughtered, and the Persians had then just completely razed to the ground the temples that were on the Acropolis. And when the Athenians came back after the Battle of Salamis to reclaim their city, and after the Battle of Plataea the following year, and when the Persians had withdrawn back to Persia, they are said to have made an extraordinary decision, which was to leave the Acropolis in ruins for the best part of the next 30 to 40 years as a constant reminder of the actions of the barbarians. Right? So the Acropolis has forever been, in the Greek mindset, such a massive statement of the fate and well-being of the Greek state. Marian asks for some research on Greek architectural orders. Okay, we'll get back to you. We'll put that on the list. Nicole, hello from Melbourne. Late to the party, or is it early? It's after midnight. Good Lord. Okay, I hope you've got a strong cup of coffee, or perhaps hot chocolate, or even something stronger while you're joining us. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you for those joining from Strasbourg. Eugenio talks about Rigas Ferraios, fighting against the Turks. Another great suggestion for the greatest Greek. Keep them coming in, and we will put a list up of all your suggestions on the Facebook page alongside some description of what they got up to as well, these different great Greeks of all time. But Ian, thank you very much. That's a fabulous question. Give us lots to think about. Fiona Gorake is asking, does anywhere do original plays in Greece? Now, I'm presuming you mean by this, Fiona, plays back in ancient Greek, or are you meaning just the staging of ancient plays, but perhaps translated into modern Greek or into English? Well, two of the best places I would suggest to go and see tragedies, perhaps performed in English or in modern Greek rather than ancient Greek, but sometimes in ancient Greek as well, would either be to go to the theatre of Herodes Atticus in Athens, which sits at the base of the Acropolis. Now, this is a 2nd century AD, so Roman era theatre, built very much more in the Roman style of theatres than Greek theatres, but still absolutely fantastic space, operational during the summer months when we're not all stuck in because of COVID-19. And here you can see a whole litany of different kinds of productions. So I've seen the English National Ballet perform there in the ancient Roman amphitheatre. I've seen Twelfth Night put on in modern Greek, and I've seen ancient plays, ancient Greek tragedies and comedies as well. And then, of course, going to Epidavros would be the other place, to the great theatre, one of the greatest surviving theatres of the ancient world at Epidavros, where every summer they have the festival, bringing extraordinarily talented actors from around the world to join in for the performance of ancient tragedies. Kind of thing. Hello, Kelly, you're in Australia. Andrew's in the Bay Area, California, USA. My God, we are covering the world today. Hello, Andrew. Hello from America, from California to Australia and everywhere in between. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's a really great pleasure. Fiona, excellent. Thank you. Hopefully we can all go when this is over. Yes, I completely agree. I think a joint trip, we should have a Facebook group joint trip to a theatrical production at Herodes Atticus or at Epidavros. Absolutely brilliant. Now, Linda, hang on a sec. You're preempting me here with my kind of, you're asking questions about poo sticks because Chantal de Brion has been in touch saying, given the current situation, particularly in the UK, the lack of loo roll available, what did the ancient Greeks and Romans use to wipe their bottoms with, as it may prove invaluable advice for modern times? Apparently Chantal's getting a bit obsessed with this question, and it seems like Linda might be as well as a number of others of you. So yes, as it was explained to me just the other day, well, if you can't get loo roll, then I guess people did without loo roll in the past, and we might just be able to do something else like use water. Well, now this is where we need Caroline Lawrence as a guest on our Facebook Live Q&A, who would be able to bring her fantastic group of props that whenever she comes to talk to the young kids, and I've seen her do this several times, she brings a certain prop with her, which is absolutely guaranteed to get a good reaction from the young kids, and that is her poo stick. Yes, indeed. Yes. So the Romans could just use some water, or if they were in their communal lavatories, there would be a sort of trough of water, of fresh running water running round sort of in front of where they were sitting doing their business, and then they could take the communal poo stick, and you'd have to be quite a rich and wealthy person to have your own poo stick to carry around. Wash it, freshen it up a little in the running water, and then use said poo stick to wipe themselves afterwards. So perhaps in an age of not only the shortage of loo roll because of COVID-19, but in an age in which we all want to be a little bit more ecologically friendly and save a few trees, perhaps going back to using a communal loo brush with a little bit of freshening up, washing in between might not be the worst idea in the world. But I'm going to leave it at that. Sarah, good afternoon. Usually you're working, so you can't join in the live Q&A, and you've joined at an odd time, where we have just suggested potentially moving towards the production of eco-sustainable communal loo brushes for us all to get around the problem and issue of the shortages of loo paper. Yinsi, you're lucky you're joining in from a late lunch break. Thank you so much for tuning in. Absolutely fantastic. Kelly, Ostiantica is the best place to see one of these communal lavatories. Yes, indeed, but you don't need to go to Italy. You can see brilliant ones in the UK as well. If you go to some of the great sites, particularly along Hadrian's Wall and near Vindolanda, absolutely fantastic communal loos to be seen there. And indeed, in some of the sites in the area, particularly the forts and the small settlements that were built along Hadrian's Wall, you get to see extraordinarily complex water systems that got the water into and moving around the communal loos as well. So Chantal, absolutely fantastic question. That's it. I think we can all dispense now with ever running out to buy any more loo paper. Sarah, you're asking about views on ancient Roman monuments and epitaphs and the info they gave on freed slaves, etc. We're going to put that on the list, and we will get to that as a question for next time. Nicole hopes it never gets that dire. Well, I mean, you see the shelves in Sainsbury's. There aren't any loo roll around to be had. Hello from Belfast, Joanne. Thank you. Sarah's currently learning about this on her OU Classical Studies course. Verulamium, that's the one. Absolutely, Anna. Thank you very much for reminding me of the name. Verulamium, absolutely a brilliant place to go and see some ancient loos, because who doesn't like to see some ancient loos? Now, those are the Romans. Of course, for the Greeks, I'm reminded of thinking about the ancient Olympics. So the ancient Olympics we think of as this kind of great highfalutin point in the calendar when all the great sportsmen of the ancient Greek world got together. And of course that was what happened, but it also happened in a large open flat area which was cordoned on two sides by two rivers that intersected, the Alpheus and the Cladeus. And it happened in Greek summertime, so very, very hot. And it was 40,000 plus Greeks, plus all their animals that they brought along, that were all sitting in the same area for a good period of a week. And basically these guys would have been using the rivers for fresh drinking water, for washing, for going to the loo, for feeding their animals and washing their animals as well. So you can imagine that actually going to the ancient Olympics was not one of the nicest experiences in the world. I'm very sorry that I pronounced your surname wrong, Fiona. Please let us know. Send us in a voice file or something and we'll get it right. My apologies, my apologies. Can I explain, Lee says, the difference between the 3 and 4 on the clock faces for 4? Hang on a sec. I'm looking at it. Well, you're looking at it in reverse for one thing, Lisa. That might help explain. And I hopefully there's only 3, or else I've been duped in buying my clock. I'll have to have a look at this when we get offline. So Fiona, thank you very much indeed for your question. Chantel, thank you very much indeed for your question. And we move on to Cadence. Now, Cadence d'Olive has been asking about birthdays. Now, she's been asking this because it is a special birthday today. So, Jonathan, we're sending a birthday shout out to you. Happy, happy, happy birthday. I hope you're having a fantastic day despite all the joys of COVID-19 and social distancing and self-isolation. Cadence has been asking about birthdays and how they celebrated birthdays because obviously we're all going to be celebrating. Jonathan, you today, me on the Friday the 3rd, in very, very different ways than we might be expressing it normally. And in celebrating it normally. Everyone's now, I'm very, very sorry for pronouncing all of your names. I'm pronouncing your name wrongly, it appears. Oh dear, I am sorry. Please send in audio files and I will do my very, very best. This always happens when I'm doing the register in lectures as well for all students when they first come in at the beginning of the year, and it takes me a good couple of weeks to get pronunciations of names right. Jonathan, thank you. It's the big 50 on Monday. Oh, is it Monday? Oh, I'm right. Well, we will be looking forward to celebrating with you on Monday the 6th of April. Everyone make a note in their diaries to say happy birthday to Jonathan for the big 50 on Monday. Congratulations to you. 50 is the new 40, or is that 25? I think probably 25, right? So that's the kind of excellent congratulations. So Cadence has asked about birthdays. Now this is really interesting, I think, because Romans, this is a real point of similarity, particularly with the Roman world, that we know that they too, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years ago, were celebrating birthdays really just like us today. And one of the most famous pieces of evidence for this comes from the UK. It comes from Vindolanda, where those fantastic survival of the wooden tablets in the mud and everything have been able to survive, and we can read the sort of scratchings into the wood that was beneath the wax of these tablets, the messages that were sent. And one of the most famous comes from about 100 CE, when it was the Claudia Severa who was sending a letter to her friend Supplicia Lepidina asking her to come to her birthday party. So we have to imagine, kind of on the front line in northern England, here we have a Roman wife of one of the generals or commander of the camp sitting there and organising her birthday party, going kind of, I want my friends to come around for my birthday party. So we know that probably 100 CE, then Claudia Severa was having a nice birthday party to celebrate. And we even know the date of her birthday party. It was September the 11th, right? So kind of we can imagine and send our congratulations to Claudia as well for her birthday. 1,920 years ago, something like that indeed. Now, the kind of slight difference though was that the birthday celebration, which would take place on their birthday, was as much a religious festival as it was what we would now think of as birthdays necessarily as a sort of celebration and party. And that's because the day really had to start and was focused around thanking Vigenius. And that was the god whose sort of day you were born on, who was your tutelary god who looked after you and protected you. And you made special sacrifices and offerings to your god who looked after you on your birthday to look after you for the next year. And then, of course, when the next year came around and it was your birthday again, you reinitiated those sacrifices to ensure that they would look after you for another year. Kind of you would have to start the day off with some sacrifices, some incense burning, the making of particular cakes. So we did have a kind of a birthday cake, but it's more of a sacred cake that you make and then consume as well as part of your kind of honouring of the gods. You may be wearing special robes, not quite a party dress. My 4-year-old insisted on celebrating her 4th birthday dressed half as Elsa and half as Tinkerbell, but probably not quite in that fashion, thinking more kind of religious robes, but then obviously that would morph into and have people coming around and joining in for a good old-fashioned birthday party. However, the Greeks have a name day similar, so Anna, yeah, absolutely, with the name day, so thinking about the name that you're given, but that's really the name of the saint that you're named after or linked into, so that might not necessarily be the same as your birthday. So Greeks will have a birthday and a name day. And Jeremy's asking whether these are the first words written by a woman that have survived. No, I don't think they're the first. I think we definitely have earlier writing from women than 100 CE. Absolutely. But this is one of the kind of best kind of bits, I think, really giving you an insight into the kind of day-to-day living of trying, even on the northern boundaries of the Roman Empire, to have a birthday party. So Cadence, thank you very much indeed for that fantastic question, and Jonathan, happy birthday again for Monday. We are quickly running out of time. I want to stop with the questions for a second and just flag some of the things that are going on despite the world of COVID-19. So we've been putting up on the Facebook page all the great online resources you can be using to explore the ancient world, and particularly if you've got kids at home, and either through the Warwick Classics Network website or through my website as well, and we've updated that this week. We wanted to flag that the You're Dead to Me podcast with Greg Jenner and myself, that's going to be recorded live, that you can be part of the live studio audience, has been rescheduled. It was going to be late April time. It's now been rescheduled for the 18th of December, and we are going to be discussing Greg and I and a comedian, Alexander the Great, as our topic. So you can buy your tickets to come and watch that being recorded in London, and there'll be some extra bits and bobs around it as well. So hopefully you can make it by the 18th on the 18th of December. Get your tickets now. Also, my book, Ancient Worlds, if you're a Kindle reader, it's going for the whole of April, cheap on Kindle for 99p. So get downloading right now. Yes, as of today, as of the 1st of April. There we go. So get it via Amazon, obviously the Amazon Kindle, and you can download for 99p the whole of this month. What a bargain. Yinzi, you've got your tickets already coming for the You're Dead to Me. Absolutely brilliant. Cadence, thank you for the happy birthday wishes. That's much appreciated. Sarah, where can we get the tickets from? You can get the tickets from, we have the link on the Facebook page, and it's there ready to go, and you can link through to the service that are organising the event and putting the tickets on. Gigandtours.com, Yinzi, thank you very much indeed. Brilliant. Greg Jenner is also, as you may have seen from his own Twitter feed, is going to be making a whole series of short, fun history podcasts that will go out via BBC Sounds, particularly focused on homeschooling kids, not just about the ancient world, but about all periods of history. So do keep a lookout for those. History Extra has put out a series of kind of what to read next books, so you may have a bit more time for reading on your hands. So do get in touch with those. Eddie Cawthorne, the author, the editor of BBC History Magazine Online, has put up the books so far, and there's some good ones there coming out about the ancient world as well. So definitely take a look in with those. And then I think the other thing I wanted to flag with you is the mystery of the Sphinx comes back once more. This is a piece that's come out from Archaeology magazine, where the Egypt's Ministry of Antiquities have suggested a new and innovative idea for the strategic placement of the Sphinx, the Great Sphinx by the pyramids, strategically placed so that the sun sets over its right shoulder on the spring and fall equinoxes, when day and night are equal in length. Ooh, love it. Mysterious. Lee's asking, do I think the O of COVID is long or short? Asking for a friend. I don't know. I should really be listening out to how it's being said by the professionals. I'm just making it up as I go along. So I'm going with COVID-19, but because COVID-19 sounds even nastier. I don't think I'd like to have COVID. Well, I don't really want either COVID-19 or COVID-19, but COVID-19 sounds to me like it would be a nastier bug. And then also from Archaeology magazine, from March and April edition, we've got the Barrel of Bronze Age Monkeys. Now, this is looking at the Bronze Age Aegean painting of a troop of monkeys on one of the palaces, Minoan palaces, which has long been kind of questioned as to kind of where are these monkeys being copied from, or are they being made up entirely? Now a team led by the University of Pennsylvania, includes primatologists and taxonomic illustrators, have concluded that the Akrotiri monkeys, it's where they are at the site of Akrotiri, the sort of Greek version of Pompeii and Herculaneum, if you like, are in fact accurate depictions of langur monkeys whose natural range is the Indus River Valley some 4,000 miles away. So there we go. We've got another instance potentially of just how connected across extraordinary geographical distances the ancient world was, even in the Bronze Age, right? So I think we have to dispense with this notion of these separated off worlds where actually knowledge and understanding and imagery could travel over very far distances indeed. And I'm kind of always mindful of something of a thing called the Uluburun shipwreck, which is a shipwreck that was discovered back in the late 60s, early 70s, I think, and is now on display. It's been dredged up out of the sea and put on display and preserved because it contained tens of thousands of objects that were being traded between different communities, ranging from Egypt all the way around the eastern Mediterranean coast up to the Greek states of the Bronze Age. Now, so I think this is so important to just remember that there was this constant interconnection between communities, and what the Tapal monkeys, the langur monkeys possibility means that we need to extend that interconnection even further. So brilliant. Thank you so much for those. We've got time for one more question. We've done okay. What are we going to go for? Jennifer Champness has asked, if students had to read one ancient Greek and one ancient Roman text, what would be your top picks? Tough. Right, everyone, send them in over the Facebook page. Tell us what your top ancient Greek and ancient Roman text would be. We'd love to hear and love to share all your different thoughts. For me, probably in the Greek world, they're all brilliant. I remember reading as one of the first ancient Greek texts in ancient Greek. Also, having learned ancient Greek, one of the first major texts I read in completion was Euripides' Medea. It's a tragedy, and that has stuck with me as one of my favourite pieces of all time. So I would go for Medea from the Greek world, and in the Roman world, bit of Ovid and Mores, perhaps. Learn how to send secret messages to your love, your married love, kind of over there. Ovid was sending messages written in milk, and if you write your message in milk, then your recipient can put a little bit of charcoal dust on it, and the charcoal dust sticks to the milk and thus makes your message visible. So there's another great idea to do with your kids while they're at home homeschooling. How do you send secret messages to one another? Try it with milk and a little bit of charcoal dust, or else you can try it also with other bodily fluids. But I'll leave it there, and probably you will want to as well. Caesar's expedition to Britain from Andrew. Ruth, the Greek Oedipus Tyrannos. Anna, Seneca. Annette loves the Aeneid. Absolutely love all of these ideas. That's brilliant. You're saying, hoping to read Medea, aspire to read Medea. Yep, absolutely. Even if you start with small segments of it, I think it's absolutely brilliant. Cadence, reading the Aeneid, loves it. De rerum naturae from Eugenia, absolutely brilliant. Can we get one more in? Yes. Catherine Anstey has asked, how did people travel around in ancient Rome? And sure, I assume not everyone had Ben-Hur-like chariots. Brilliant question. I would direct you first off, another great thing to do while you're at home, to the Orbis website. So if you just Google Orbis, Orbis, this is a project set up from Stanford University where they have calculated you can put in two different places in the Roman world, the Roman Empire across the whole of the Mediterranean, and it, using all the data that's been inputted into this database about how the roads that were available, methods of travel that were available, works out how long it would take you to get from one place to the other. And it's totally addictive to be able to sort of work out how long it would take you to get around, but it's a surprisingly long amount of time. So the Orbis platform, the Orbis website suggests that to get from Rome just to Naples in the Roman world would take something like 6 days if you were doing it, if you weren't using the super fast express kind of postal service that could only be used at the emperor's command, which could then take about 2 days. But actually, if you were traveling by normal methods, it could take 6 days to get from Rome to Naples. So kind of it is a slower world of travel, right? And just thinking outside of the city for a little bit, there were actually lots of different kinds of ways of travel, thinking about it. So Ben-Hur-like chariots, not being used very much kind of for regular travel. In fact, there's lots of different kinds of what we could equate to. So there was a sort of a public bus, if you like, which was the Raider. Now this was a sort of bus that could take quite a few people travelling on it and be pulled by horses and carriages, and it had a maximum weight, so it wasn't allowed to, both people and luggage, to have more than about I think it's 300 kilograms, something like. No, that doesn't sound very much, does it? I need to double check that. Come back to you. But the Raider was the public bus that could be put on. But then, if you wanted, there was just a couple of you, and you needed a sort of public taxi-esque, then there were different sizes of smaller public taxi as well, and these could be more within the city. So there was things like the SEDM and the Cesium, like different smaller versions of public taxi. If, on the other hand, you were fairly wealthy and you had your own kind of limo, if you like, limousine, you could have different sizes of those as well. So there's the Aruca, smaller limousine, the Carpentum, the larger limousine. That was a really posh statement. And then on the other end of the spectrum, for heavy goods moving, like we might imagine heavy goods freight moving, then they had something called the Plaustrum, which was a massive open thing that would just be loaded with goods and pulled by oxen, and that was the slowest of the slowest of the slowest. Hello from Southern Australia, Anthony. Lee, thank you. Orbis, thank you for the link, Lee, that's brilliant. So you've got your public bus, you've got your smaller taxis, you've got your private limos and larger limos, you've got your slow heavy freight goods as well. And then on top of that, litters. So if you, particularly for women, and particularly within the city of Rome, you'd have your slaves, 6 slaves carry you around, or perhaps you and somebody else kind of on a litter being hand carried around. And also kind of on foot, right? Lots and lots of moving around on foot, particularly within the city, because in the big cities, actually during the day, there were quite a few restrictions on which kinds of carriages were allowed into the city, because they had sort of iron-shod wheels and they made a huge amount of noise. So actually there were restrictions on when things could come in and not. So lots and lots of different varieties of transportation for all sizes, and that really do map onto everything that we have today, from the fancy schmancy, very private and very kind of luxurious cars, through to your taxi service for smaller groups, your larger public buses for larger groups moving between cities, and then the slow freight that could take your belongings going backwards and forwards. Everyone, thank you so much. We've come to the end of our time. It's already 2:30. Thank you so much indeed for joining in. It's been absolutely fantastic to share this with you. When are we going next? Right, we are coming next for a Facebook Live Q&A on the 14th of April. So that's a Tuesday. So we're mixing it up. Tuesday the 14th of April, 2 weeks time, on at 4 p.m. We'll be back to 4 p.m, our usual time slot. And in the meantime, we'll be putting lots of stuff up on the Facebook page. I hope you've been enjoying the Romans quiz that's been brilliantly put together by Claire. Thank you, Claire, so much, and kind of I hope you're enjoying that moving forward. We will, Stefan Sferetson, get in touch with your address and we will send your prize out to you. In the meantime, everyone, stay very safe. I look forward to seeing you on the 14th of April, and keep your eyes peeled also on the Facebook page for announcements about a live event as well that will be coming up in the meantime, I hope. So thank you very much indeed for subscribing to the YouTube channel, and we will be broadcasting live over that as well in the not too distant future. Everyone stay safe, stay well, and look after yourselves and everyone else. Take care. Bye-bye.